Alright. Hello everybody, my name is ZeroCounts. We're going to be doing a run of Klonoa Door to Phantomile today for the PS1. We got a pretty long unskippable cutscene at the beginning of the game, so I'm going to get started right away here. Let's get the timer going in 3, 2, 1, and start. Alright, so, like I said, this is Klonoa Door to Phantomile. It was released by Namco in 1997 for the PS1. You'll notice we are playing on the Japanese version. This is actually a port of the game, released on the PS2. It's a port on a collection called the Nam Collection. It's a 50-year anniversary collection, released by Namco with a couple other games on it. So the cutscene at the beginning of the game is sort of giving us a rundown of our characters. It introduces us to the titular character Klonoa here. Shoutouts to Namco and Pac-Man on his hat there. Klonoa is some sort of creature, some kind. They never really say what. It's some sort of mix between a dog and a rabbit. I don't know. But adorable nonetheless. They are telling us how Klonoa met their childhood friend Hupo. Hupo is a ring spirit which resides inside of this ring here, and is also the source of our main attack in the game, called the Wind Bullet. Whenever Klonoa attacks forward with the Wind Bullet, it's Hupo coming out of the ring and grabbing the enemies in front of us. So Klonoa is currently sleeping and is about to have a dream or a nightmare, if you will, of a ship that, some weird ship that crash lands into his hometown here in the world of Phantomile. And once that happens, it actually wakes him up. And we quickly find out that, shoutouts to his giant poofball hat, by the way. I love that hat. He wakes up, finds out that it was all a dream, but then quickly realizes that his dream is about to become reality, because as soon as he walks out of his home, we see that there is a ship that crash lands. I skipped through the cutscene, so we didn't see it, but the ship crash lands in his town in real life as well. So the first thing that you'll see right off the bat is that Klonoa is a 2.5D perspective game. And what that means is that the character sprites are all in 2 dimensions, and the world they're in is 3 dimensions. We use this to our advantage in order to skip sections of the game by using the physics of the world. But we'll have some good examples of that coming up. Despite the fact that the first 2.5 minutes is unskippable, everything else in the game until the very end is skippable. So we're going to be skipping pretty much all the story beats. I'll try to keep you up with what the story is. It's fairly simple. So we have a skip coming up here really quick, just to show off what's called plane skipping. Basically, you can throw enemies up and then jump onto platforms that are in the same line as where you are, without having to go all the way under them and wrap back around. Alright, so we're going into the next stage here. This is stage 1-2, your classic underground stage. Shoutouts to Super Mario Brothers. And let's talk about the mechanics to the game. I've heard somebody once describe this as reverse Kirby. So essentially what you're doing is every time an enemy, or whenever you attack an enemy, it kind of expands, and then you can throw that enemy underneath Klonoa in order to perform a double jump. You can also throw enemies forward to attack other enemies, if you would like to. The Wind Bullet attack that Klonoa shoots in front of him to grab enemies is a little bit deceptive in its hitboxes. It actually extends a lot farther than where we're than where you see it extend on the screen. And that's really helpful. It allows us to sort of pick up enemies before we're about to run into them. Or you can just run into them like that. That happens sometimes too. Enemies with shields, you can't attack them from the front. You have to wrap around them and then grab them on the back. So here's an example of grabbing an enemy from pretty far away. You can kind of tell, like, I was pretty far away from that enemy before I grabbed it. Casually, you would think you'd have to be a lot closer to it. I'm just going to kind of wait out these enemies and then pop through here. So we're heading to the first boss now. The bosses in this game are definitely the hardest part of the run. This is Rongo Longo. We need full health in this fight because we're going to be taking a lot of intentional damage. You can also only damage Rongo Longo from the back. So we're going to kind of damage boost and use our iframes to get into the hitbox of Rongo Longo. Wait for him to turn around and then throw an enemy at his back. Alright, and that's it. That's the first boss. When Klonoa gets up to the top of this tower here, we meet our the enemy, or like the main baddie of the game, Gadius, and his henchman Joka. We don't see it though because we skip it, but I promise you they're there. Essentially what we find out is that Gadius is a big bad that was banished from the land of Phantomile a long time ago. And he wants to actually turn the entire land of Phantomile into a nightmare because he's upset at them banishing him. In order to do that, he needs to find a moon pendant and use its magic to do his bidding and turn the world of Phantomile into a nightmare. We find out shortly after we meet Gadius that the moon pendant was actually hiding inside the bell in our hometown. So we go and we talk to our grandfather about it, and we learn about its magic powers, and then we continue on our way to try and stop Gadius's plans. Oops. Enemies are really bringing their A game today. Whoops. So I'm going to have to use this to get over this. This stage actually introduces us to cycles, because these leaf cycles here happen at very specific intervals. When you enter a room, those leaves start on a cycle, and then you want to get to them at an optimal time, so you spend a lot less time waiting. These ones as well, they kind of cycle back and forth. We got a pretty significant plane skip that we'll be going for coming up here. Hopefully I don't get hit by anything. Okay. Good. And then we'll skip this whole section over there to the left, to the right. Now, I keep saying skip, right? Even though the category that I'm running is any % no skips. So what does the skip actually mean? The skips, no skip category refers to like really significant skips. Basically any skip that causes you to skip sections that you don't really even see on the screen. If it's small plane skips like the ones that I'm performing, those are allowed. But you won't be seeing any wall clipping or anything like that in this category. We're basically playing the game as much as intended as we can. We're going to damage boost through this enemy, use our iframes to get to the other side, and then do a plane skip to skip a little section over there. There's a cycle I'm going to try to get here so that I can leave this area with an enemy in hand. And got it. Just barely. Almost missed that. That allows us to exit right away here so we can get that get onto that stopper when the water is shooting up. Right there, you'll notice that when I grabbed that enemy, I wasn't even like anywhere close to it, but because of the odd hitboxes of the wind bullet, we were able to grab it. We got another plane skip that's coming up here. We're going to use the shield guy to jump up here and land on that, skipping just a little section there. All these like plane skips and such really just they save you just few seconds here and there, but it really adds up over the course of the run. Another thing you really want to pay attention to in this run, if you ever decide to run it, is just you want to constantly be moving with Klonoa. And I know that sounds obvious. It's a speed run. You want to keep moving. But hang on. I'm going to talk about knockback cancel. So I just got hit by that giant enemy, and it knocked me backwards. And then I quickly attacked with my wind bullet after it hit me. Every enemy that knocks you back it causes an animation for Klonoa to knock back pretty far. But if you immediately throw a wind bullet, it will kind of cancel that animation and then allow you to start walking through the enemy. And that can prevent what normally would be 2 damage worth of damage boost to get through those larger enemies. It will only take 1 hit. I'll talk about movement more after this fight. This is Cursed Pamela. Cursed Pamela is a pretty difficult boss, considering the amount of RNG that's involved here. We have to pick up King Seedolf, who is riding Pamela's back. This is the intended way to do it. We're supposed to wait until Seedolf jumps on those spiked balls and then grab them off of one. But when Pamela jumps over these bridges, you can actually grab Seedolf off of her back. And there's one right there. Perfect. That frame window is pretty small to grab, but it makes for a lot faster fight. So if you get the opportunity to grab him, nice. We got 2. This is a pretty good fight so far. We need 1 more hit. We'll see if we get the opportunity to grab him off her back 1 more time. Nope. Okay, we're going on the spiked ball. Just wait for Pamela to jump at us. You can hit Pamela while she's just sort of sitting out there on the left side, but it's the hitbox is pretty janky, and for marathon safety, we're just gonna wait until she jumps out. But that's the boss battle there. All right, so we're moving on to stage 3-1. Like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the movement. Essentially, whenever you try to grab an enemy, you want to make sure that you're jumping while you grab it, if you can, because attacking in midair doesn't slow Klonoa down. But if you're to attack while Klonoa's feet are on the ground, he will stop in place, and then that's just a waste of frames. Let's get through this cutscene here and grab the health. Alright, so we're going to be talking about cycles a lot in this run. A lot of things are on cycles in this game, including some of these gondolas that are carrying us around. We're going to try to get around this section fast enough that we can grab the gondola when it comes back. Okay, we got to go and grab this key, get in front of this enemy here, and then we should be here right when it... don't run too fast, you'll run right off. Shoutouts to the soundtrack. You have to shoot wind bullets during the music. It's mandatory. We also were introduced to the concept of keys in this stage. They're fairly simple. You have to grab a key before you can go through a door that has a key symbol on it. In the any percent category, you are actually able to clip through doors, which is pretty cool, but we won't be doing that today. We're going to be grabbing those keys and playing the game. Game showing off its 2.5D perspective there. We have to throw an enemy in the background in order to drop that crate so we can get access to the key. Alright, so I'm going to go for a fairly significant skip here where I take an enemy past a barrier where the devs did not intend for me to. We'll see if I get it. I'm going to focus here. Alright, we got it. Awesome. So you're not supposed to be able to take that enemy over that barrier. It's pretty far away, but what that allows us to do is it allows us to make sure that we get up to this section earlier, and then we don't have to back or go track underneath this bridge and grab an enemy and then backtrack. It takes a lot of time. And we want to go through this door with this enemy. The reason for that is there's something we're going to do with this enemy on the other side here. If it gets hit by any of these spikes, though, we lose it. So I'm going to focus here. Alright, we lost it. That's okay. If we were to keep that enemy through this section, we would be able to use it to break a block on the opposite end. And it saves us a couple seconds. But no big deal. We got the first trick. We got the bridge trick, which is honestly the harder of the two, so I'm happy that we did that. So this is just an auto-scroller. We just have to dodge all this. Now that we're not carrying the enemy, it's a lot less difficult. So we're just going to hold right here, and then we'll load into the next section. Those little clocks that I grab occasionally are checkpoints. I'll be grabbing more of them than I would normally in a run, just for safety purposes. But here you can see why we would want that enemy, because if we had that enemy in our hands, we wouldn't have to double back and grab that shield enemy twice. Wind bullet to the music. Let's go. Alright, we have to get a switch that's behind this big dude over here. There we go. And then grab this gondola. And try to grab this enemy. Okay, perfect. This saves us a few frames. We don't have to wait for this enemy to spawn. Still have to wait for the second one though, so it doesn't save a whole lot of time, but like I said, there's a bunch of little tiny time saves that really add up over the course of the run for this. And that's the end of 3-1. Alright, moving into 3-2 here. The game is going to introduce us to some new jumping mechanics further on in this area, and also different types of enemies. So these enemies here explode after you throw them, and they have like a really large blast radius that you can use to hit switches for puzzles. And it shows you that, introduces you to that concept there. The purpose of this stage, and I guess what we're trying to accomplish is, you'll notice all these little mechanical things, like this platform here made of wood is currently not moving. We need to find the operation center for these mechanics and get them moving so we can access the top of this stage where we'll find the boss. Alright, we got some tight windows for grabbing enemies here. Grab that guy, this one. Thread the needle on that monkey there. Alright. I'm going to turn around and hit this switch. Take a damage boost through here, and then grab this enemy so that we don't have to use this springboard to save a jump. Alright, now the game is going to kind of reintroduce us to Gadius's henchman Joka. Like I said, we didn't. Oops, went back through that door. We didn't get to see Joka because we skipped the cutscene, but we'll get to see him for a little bit. Just pay real close attention. You'll see him for probably about a quarter of a second. Maybe a little longer than that. Just keep your eyes open. We'll see Joka. Alright, Joka's up here waiting for us. He's keeping one of the keys to the operation center from us, and he jumps away and he drops the key. So we're able to now get everything moving. Joka will come back. Spoilers, we are going to be fighting Joka as a boss later on in Stage 5, and is easily the worst boss fight in the entire run. But we'll be thankful that we're not there right now. Alright, now that we got everything moving, we can go back, double back to that section where we grabbed that key, and that platform should be mobile now. During that little Joka part where we grabbed that key, the game sort of introduced us to the concept of chaining jumps together. You can, after you do a double jump, if there's an enemy within reach after the double jump, you can grab it and then do another jump after that. And you're free to do that as many times as you want and chain them together. We're going to do that to, as many times as we can in order to, skip large sections of the platforming. Little plane skip right there. Save a few frames. Okay, and then wait for this platform. When we exit this area, I'm going to immediately hold right so that I can get ahead of a cycle of these spiked balls. If you don't hold right here, it's a little hard to make this cycle work. I'll wait here on the shadow and then sneak under here and hopefully get ahead of this. Okay, good. If you miss that, then you have to wait behind that ball and it moves super slow. And that's the end of this stage. We're going into the boss fight of stage 3. This is Gelgbalm. Gelgbalm is pretty annoying. It's got some really long attack animations. We're going to try our best to skip some of those animations by attacking him at certain times during the fight. So I'm going to focus during this fight and see if we can get it to work. There's the first hit. That's good. Good. We're going to try to get through the hitbox here. Good. Alright, so what we just did there is we skipped one of his longest attack animations where he jumps up into the air. Awesome. Alright, we have one more hit here. And that's it. That was a perfect fight. Awesome. Very good. Alright, thank you, Gelgbalm, for not trolling me today. Alright, so we're halfway through the stages now. We're heading into stage 4-1. Essentially, we learned that Klonoa just learned that Ghadius needs the moon pendant in order to cast the magic that he needs to turn Phantomile into a nightmare. And we told the elder that let us know about that information that the moon pendant is currently with our grandfather back in our hometown. So we're doubling back to find our grandfather who may be in danger. This stage is probably my least favorite in the run. There's a lot of damage boosting and a lot of enemies that need to you have to be really careful around. Depending on what my health is at, we might take an intentional death to kind of reset my HP. Oops. Yep, we're being kind of trolled here. Alright. Okay. I think we're good. Well, you know what? Oops. We'll grab this just in case. There is a pretty large health refill that's coming up, so we should be okay. Just be a little careful. Oh boy. Enemies always know it's marathon time, they always bring their A game. There we go. I'm gonna wait here. So those enemies with the fire that circle around them, you can actually grab them by damage boosting and using your iframes to get into their hitbox. Normally you would have to wait for them to spin their fire around them, like further outside of their initial radius, like that. We're going to go for a pretty significant plane skip here, try to get up there, and then turn back around. Alright, we're good. Despawned those ghost enemies somehow. I don't actually know how I did that. There's normally 2 ghosts that appear. Alright, skip a cycle on that swing. Grab this guy. Alright, and we have one more jump that we have to make here. We'll use this enemy to skip a little bit of it. And that's the end of 4-1. Worst part of the run for me is done now. Alright, 4-2, we're going to talk about hills. Okay, so when Klonoa goes down a hill, if the hill is steep enough, the game will sort of like propel him forward really fast. And then we'll use that to our advantage too, because you can actually transfer that momentum into your jumps. We use that there. Oops, we're going to grab some extra health here. We use that to kind of get ahead of some of the enemies. Perfect. We have another one of these fire enemies here that we're going to get inside the hitbox of. There we go. Grab one of these moos. All right, so the game gives Klonoa some frames of invincibility, or some invincibility frames while it shows us that a door is opening. So you notice I just kind of walked through that enemy right there. That's because the game thinks that I was watching a cutscene where it shows me that the door is opening up. And if we skip that cutscene with the door opening, the game doesn't take our invincibility away, and we can just sort of walk through enemies and not have to worry about jumping over them and stuff like that. Some tricky platforming here. We want to grab this enemy as we jump over here because it saves us a little time waiting for an enemy to spawn up here. There we go. Okay, in the background there, that's our grandfather's house, and we skip a cutscene where nothing happens at all. Our grandfather is totally not blown up by the enemy. And now we are going into the boss fight, Palladium. Palladium has these colored panels on his chest here. Depending on what colored panels are available, he can use different attacks. The worst of those attacks is the yellow panel, so we're going to get rid of those as soon as we can. There we go. And we can make pretty quick work of the rest of this. The yellow panel causes an enemy to spawn on the bridge, which makes it really difficult to set yourself up for attacks. Alright, perfect. That was a perfect Palladium fight. Okay, now we're getting to the longer stages in the run, starting with scene 5-1. So 5-1 introduces us to a couple new things. In order to finish this stage, we have to grab these colored orbs and set them on these pedestals to open that door. It also introduced us to lava. So everybody say hi to the lava, but stay high from a good distance, because if you touch that lava, it is instant death. We do not want to touch it. And actually, I didn't know that for the longest time. I actually learned that quite recently, that if you touch the lava, it's death. We're going to damage boost through here, so we don't have to wait for that fire to go away. But I always avoided the lava, so I never ran into the situation of touching it. Alright, we have to throw those enemies into the background to set up those platforms. And then we can get through here. If you don't do that, you can't make these jumps, because once again, the lava kills you. Alright, here's our first orb. We're going to take a damage boost through this fire. There we go. And place the first of 4 orbs down. We're going to go after the blue one next. You want to go for either the blue or the green one last, because that will place Klonoa closer to the door. And then you don't have to walk as far to get back to the door. This whole section has these platforms that are on certain cycles. We're going to enter this door and then exit it right away to reset the cycle of this area. And then if we move fast enough, we should be able to hit a cycle of one of these platforms. Let's see if we get it. It's right down there. Okay, just made it. And that also sets up the timing of this enemy, so you can sort of hop through here without getting hurt. We're going to try to take a damage boost through here. Okay, good. I want to get through that fire. Oops. Those enemies have a pretty far attack radius. They can stretch those mace-like enemies, or sorry, mace-like weapons pretty far. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So we use the questionable hit detection of our wind bullet to grab them before we get hit by it. Sometimes it doesn't happen, or it doesn't work though. But that's on me. That's not on the game. hit some switches in the background, and we're going to go for the yellow orb next. Now, there are these bubbles that contain, you might have seen them around, that contain these weird symbols in them. There's actually one inside of that egg down there. We're going to try to make sure we don't grab that by sort of turning around before we make the jump with that enemy. The reason we don't want to grab them is because it's actually required for the 100% category. It's not detrimental to the run if you grab them or anything, but if you do grab them at the end of the stage, it'll count up the ones that you've collected, and that's just time that we'd rather be spending finishing the stages and not waiting for it to count up our the items we've gathered. We're gonna go for a plain skip here. Good. And wait, grab this guy. Alright, we're heading to get our last orb. We need to have a significant amount of health, because we have to do a lot of damage boosting here. Shout outs to not grabbing the checkpoint when I'm jumping over lava. This is acting as a reminder to make sure that I do grab some of the checkpoints later. A lot of the checkpoints in here really don't cost you any time, so it really makes sense to grab some of them just in case, especially during a marathon. Alright, that's the last orb. Now we're heading into 5-2, which is, it's got more cycles. I know, you probably can't believe it, but there's another stage where we're going to worry about cycles. This is a different type of cycle, though. These are day-night cycles. There's a significant one right off the bat that I'm going to focus on and see if I can get it. Alright, perfect. So, the day-night cycles, when it becomes nighttime, you can't actually grab enemies, and you can't throw them. And if you have one in your grasp, you have to, the game will destroy the enemy. Let me wait here for a second. Okay. When you go through doors, if it is turning from day to night, while you go through the door, you can actually control whether or not it's day or night when you exit. So we want to go through that first door while the transition is happening, so we can set up the next section to be daytime. Now this next area, once we go through this door, it should be daytime, but it's going to turn into night soon here. We need it to be night so that we can get on these platforms, which are only active at nighttime. That will also become relevant later on, where there's a large string of those platforms that we need almost the entire night cycle to use. We're at full health here, which is great, because we have to do some damage boosting through these enemies. Use a knockback cancel to only take one hit rather than two. Okay. And now we have to make sure that we hit the switch within a certain frame of time. Okay, we're good. Now we can hit this switch and jump up these as quickly as we can. Hopefully we get it. All right, perfect. Awesome. Okay, we have one more section to do. This has been almost perfect stage so far, so I'm really happy with this. The next section is a little bit of a puzzle where we need to gain access to one enemy that is grabbable, but he's behind this cage. We have to go and hit all these switches in order to lower the cage all the way, and then we need it to be nighttime when we get there, so we have to make sure we do this as quickly as possible. If it's not night when we get there, we can recycle to day. Yeah, I did not do it. That's fine. We can exit and then re-enter and make it daytime. And the reason why that worked is because it was transitioning between day and night when we got to that enemy. Okay, that's the last puzzle section. We just have to make sure we don't fall in this lava, and we should be good to go. We're coming up to the Joka fight that I alluded to earlier. This is easily the worst fight of the game. Joka is super trolly, has a bunch of phases, and is really good at dodging your attacks. Alright, here's Joka. Joka is just going to kind of walk around. He's got these fists that orbit around his body, and those fists can deflect attacks, so you have to make sure that you throw enemies at him when there's a window of opportunity. Meanwhile, all these enemies will be walking around, getting in your way, never in the right place where you want them. And this is what I like to call the Cubert section. Joka turns into this weird plesiosaur enemy, and we have to... we're given the task to change the color of all these platforms back to yellow. But it is nighttime right now, so we can't pick up any enemies. So we just have to kind of hope they don't get in our way and jump over them when we can. Also dodging Joka's attacks. Alright, so that form is finished. Now we're going back to the Joka form. And we have to get 3 more hits to initiate the next phase. But now Joka has learned how to run around, so he'll move a little bit faster, trying to avoid our attacks. He will sometimes jump occasionally in this form. He was just about to jump there and get dodge my hit, because he's a jerk. Alright, there we go. Second phase done. Alright, there, so we're going into the second Cubert phase. A lot of enemies in the way right now, so that's not great. But it's fine. So now there's purple blocks, which take 3 color changes to finish. So this takes a little while. Especially when enemies do this. Come on. What did I say earlier about enemies bringing their A game? You'll notice there that the enemies actually can't, or sometimes can't get past Joka's attacks. So Joka will kind of help you out sometimes and get rid of the enemies on screen. So we thank Joka for those opportunities. Alright, so now we have to hit Joka 2 more times. And then that will be the conclusion of this fight. But now Joka not only knows how to run, but also knows how to jump like a madman. So we'll have to make sure that Joka is not jumping over our attacks. He hasn't deflected anything so far. But he's also not giving me an opportunity to attack here. There we go. Shoutouts to Joka. Bye, Joka. Don't mind me, I'm just going to split, even though I don't have my splits up. Okay, that is the end of Stage 5. We're going into Stage 6 now. This is the culmination of all the things that we've learned up until this point. The game starts to realize the skill that we've obtained via our jumping ability and says, you know what? You don't need floor. We're going to start taking floor away from you, because you can just hover and jump. So we got this electric floor as well that we're going to damage boost through. I'm going to focus on this timing because it's always a little awkward. Okay. We got a lot of health here, so we can damage boost through this section, leaving those 3 parts behind. The objective of this section is that there's these 4 colored totems that we need to destroy. We have to find the crystals that are associated with the different colored totems to gain access to different sections of this map. It's important to note that in the any percent category for this, you don't really play much of Stage 6 at all. Stage 6-1 has a really significant clip where you can take an enemy out of where the game intends you to and skip pretty much the whole thing. And then stage 6-2 has a wall clip as well, where you pretty much don't play any of stages 6-1 or 6-2 in the any percent run. But we're going to play these as intended. We're going to see what the game has to offer for us. Alright, we're slowly make our way across this platform, being chased by these ghosts. Pay them no mind. Oh god. That was really scary. That was a legitimate gasp from ZeroCounts here. Okay. Yeah, falling off of that would not be great. I honestly don't know where I had my last checkpoint. I should have been grabbing them, but if I hadn't, then we would have been knocked back pretty far. There is a strat for that room, which involves kind of jumping over the abyss. It's pretty scary. This is like my least favorite room in this stage, so I'm going to focus during this. Okay, we are through. The blast radius on those enemies extends pretty far. If you're within the blast radius of those, when you're trying to destroy these platform or these enemies, it can knock you back and put you into some really dangerous situations. Oops. Yep, we got a 1-up. Hopefully we don't need that. Alright, we just destroyed the green totem, so we have one more to get before the end of this stage. That is the yellow. And I need to exit to the right when I get back to the outside of the tower. Reminding myself that, because during practice I definitely didn't remember that. Sitting pretty good on health right now. Not a whole lot of more enemies that are going to damage us. We're just going to jump over, no floor. These little platforms disappear after you jump on them, so you have a little bit, about a second to get off of them before they go away. There we go. And that is the last totem. Skip a couple of these platforms. Try to at least. Go. Alright, and with the last totem destroyed, we can now enter the top of this structure. There we go. Alright, 6-2. We're coming up on the last stage of the run before the final bosses. 6-2, definitely one of the hardest stages in the game. Imagine that's the last one. We have a lot of puzzles to solve. We have a lot of rooms with little to no floor beneath us. And we're going to also, on top of all that, try to take enemies into places where the game does not intend us to do so. So every time we finish a section, we're going to come back to this main hub area. So there'll be a little bit of backtracking. The game does give us a lot of health pickups, so they will be there if we need them. But even so, it is fairly difficult. Alright, we're going to grab this enemy here and take him into this puzzle room. The game doesn't really intend for you to bring enemies into those rooms. It sets it up for you not requiring those enemies in there. But if you bring one in, it can go by a lot faster. You can immediately start solving the puzzle and sort of get ahead of some of the enemy spawns. Okay, we're going to use those iframes during that door opening animation there to walk through that larger enemy. Immediately start moving when we get into this room. So we have to wrap around and grab that guy to make that jump. There we go, it's perfect. Alright, that's the first puzzle section completed. So I'll go back to the main hub and start the second one. We are at full health right now. The game's going to give us 3 hearts worth of health drops, but we're just going to sail right beneath them. Grab that checkpoint in case we fall off into the abyss down here. Okay. Good. Jump over that. Alright, we're going to damage boost through this large enemy here. So now we have switches that we have to hit, or a switch that we have to hit on the top, but we also have these like disappearing platforms. So we're going to have to kind of time our grab so that we can land on the platform after it disappears. Alright, good. The hitboxes on those enemies and through that window are a lot smaller than you think they would be. So I'm always afraid I'm going to miss an enemy here. Alright, shoutouts to my least favorite room in the run. Let's see if this goes as planned. Good. Oh, and I missed the throw. Alright, we'll try it again here. The game was actually kind of nice to me there. Sometimes when you grab an enemy and you jump on top of that larger enemy, because you're sort of like squishing underneath that platform, the hitboxes for the 2 enemies will touch and then the large enemy gets destroyed. As far as I know, there's not really a way to prevent that. You just sort of have to perform the room the same way every time you get in there, and just hope and pray. Alright, we're coming up to the last puzzle section. Some of the worst platforming. And we have a pretty cool trick that we're going to try to pull off using a damage boost while carrying an enemy. There's a large, one of these large spinning enemies that we can only attack from above. What we're going to do is we're going to grab an enemy and then try to get damage boosted above him, and then do a double jump to throw the enemy down at him in order to skip a large cycle here. There we go. I'll take second try. That's totally fine. Normally we would have to take one of these enemies and jump up above onto that platform, and then hit a switch, and it takes a really, really long time. So that's a very significant time save. Alright, we have to climb up this section here. We have these scorpions that throw their tails at us while we're doing this, though. It's a little dangerous. So I'm going to take this slowly. If you miss that first cycle of that destroying that enemy above you, the cycles of these moving, or these like horizontally moving platforms gets really weird. It can be pretty tough to get past. Alright, this is the last puzzle room. As a kid, this puzzle always eluded me, but that's because I didn't realize you could hit that switch in the background just by turning towards it and attacking. I always thought you had to throw an enemy at it, which would make that room almost impossible to complete. Okay, so that's the last puzzle. We just have to make our way to the last door, and then we'll be going into the penultimate boss fight with Ghadius. Right now, Ghadius is casting the magic to turn Phantomile into a nightmare. He has the moon pendant in his grasp and is currently casting the spell, so we have to prevent that from happening. Alright, this is Ghadius. This is an RNG fest. He's going to throw these enemies at us. Oh, I can already tell based on they came out here. Okay, we have to throw the enemies behind us to attack Ghadius and get as many of these hits as we can. Those little like gyro orbs will actually teleport us. To another section. So we don't want to hit those right away. Oh gosh. Okay. Oh wow, okay. I missed that last hit. We only got 4 hits on that phase, which is not great. We're gonna use that warp to skip out an animation for the second phase. By going into that other section, it automatically puts us into the second phase of this fight. Okay, and now we're going into phase 3. Phase 3, he makes this triangle appear that has enemies inside of it. The only way to gain access to those enemies is to attack one of the corners of the triangle, and then the enemies will become free. Yo, shoutouts to Ghadius for giving me good RNG there. Alright. That is Ghadius cleared. Now we're going into the final boss fight. So despite the fact that we defeated Ghadius, Ghadius was still able to cast the magic to summon Nahatum, who is going to turn Phantomile into a nightmare. So we now need to defeat Nahatum by filling these cannons with enemies. These cannons are being manned by a bunch of the elders that we have met on our journey. We skipped most of the story during this run, so you didn't really get to meet any of these people, but they were there the whole time. Okay, so we want to dodge this tongue attack. We get grabbed by the tongue. It's a really long attack animation where Nahatum takes us into his gullet and tries to digest us. We got all the hits there on that, so now we have one more cannon to fill. Okay, try to get this before the tongue animation. Alright, we're good. Really good first phase of that fight. They're going to attack him with the cannons, and that's going to initiate our second phase of the fight. Alright, Nahatum is very upset with us right now. He is going to suck us into his gullet. And we are going to fight the second phase in here. We have to defeat this face. At the beginning of the fight, though, we are going to have a intentional death. Because there's a really long animation that happens right now where it kind of shows us the weak point of the boss, these crystals. But by taking a death, it loads us after that. And we have to kind of dodge attacks while hitting these crystals in the background. Destroy these 4 crystals. Alright, we're good. And now we need, there's going to be a crystal that appears, and then we have to attack it twice. It's going to be moving around the background of the screen. If we can line up the first 2 attacks, we'll make quick work of this. That's 1. And that's 2. Alright. As the second phase of the fight done, now we're going into the third and final phase of this fight. with Nahatum. Now we have to fill the cannons again, but this time the cannons are beneath us instead of on top. The objective here is to keep running because Nahatum can destroy the platforms beneath us. And we have to run to grab these enemies. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong during this fight, like throwing enemies below you when you didn't mean to, like that, like I did right there. Okay. 3 more cannons to fill. Down to 2. Alright, 1 more cannon. Alright, that's that. Now we just need to wait for... time is when the bar gets destroyed, and that's time. Oh jeez. Oh no, I didn't hit it right. Oh, the timer's not stopping. Oh no. Okay, well, that's time. I don't know why it's not stopping, but that's time. Yeah, I don't know. It's still going, but that's the time of the run. And that's a PB for me, actually, so... yeah, I don't know what it was, the actual final time, but it was like a 20-second PB, so yeah, that was a great run. Thank you, everybody. Quick spoilers for the end of Klonoa before I sign off here. At the end here, Klonoa actually defeats Nahatum, and as Nahatum is being destroyed, your friend Hupo informs Klonoa that he is not actually from this world, and he has actually been summoned by Hupo through methods of a dream, and all of the memories inside of Klonoa's head are of his friendship with Hupo are actually just created artificially through the use of dreaming, and he was only being used to save their world. And now a portal is going to appear that sucks Klonoa into it back to his world. It's a very somber ending to an incredible game. If you ever have the opportunity to play Klonoa, I implore you to give it a try. There are a number of remakes. There's one on the Wii, and then one that also came out on the Switch recently. So yeah, give it a shot. Yeah, I want to thank Retrothon, RGL TV for having me here. I have another run later on in the week, so you will be seeing me again later. But thank you, everybody, and that's it. I'm ZeroCounts. Thanks for watching. Bye.